Live from New York, this is WIUR Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Notes App Podcast. I am your host, Michael Marchiona, and let's get into it. Today is exclusively a music-related episode because there are three things I really want to talk about: two releases and one performance. So I'm going to go in chronological order. Starting first with the stuff that released on February 6th. I brought up in the first episode that J. Cole and Joji were releasing albums on February 6th. I had gotten the opportunity to listen to both of them, and I am here to give you my thoughts. I'm gonna go in reverse order in the way that I'd listened to them. So Joji's new album released. I thought it was kind of mid. I'm not gonna lie. Like on like a single by single basis, it was pretty good. There were a few songs that I liked, but overall, as like a whole project, I don't think it was well put together. Like not well put together. The issue with it is I didn't feel like a cohesive project. It felt like a compilation of singles. Because typically in albums, you put them together as like a project, kind of like not that they tell a cohesive story, but like all the songs are sort of interlinked in some way. So I feel didn't feel like Joji's album like took that all together. Just more of a nitpick on my part. I feel like a lot of the songs, like I don't say a lot of the songs kind of mm, like flowed into each other, which is a good thing. But at the same time, like I feel like the songs are kind of just like flowed into each other, and it kind of made me lose track of like what songs, especially because the album was so short. Despite having 21 tracks, I believe the album ran less than an hour. It ran, I can give you the complete album. Yeah, it was 21 tracks, ran for 46 minutes. Only one of the songs was above 3 minutes, which isn't a bad thing. There are artists that have done that well. Pink Panthers being the big example of doing a quick song extremely well. A lot of her songs are meant to be like mixed into each other, I feel, or like mixed, used as like a mixed or as part of a mix. But I feel like Joji's music doesn't necessarily fit into that. Like a lot, I feel like you're meant to have them as sort of like their own standalone pieces. And what my favorite song off of it was Love You Less, which I believe was the one that went over 3 minutes. I believe that was 3:42, right? Yeah, Love You Less was the album that went over 3 minutes. And that was probably my favorite song in the album because I feel like it got everything had like a chance to breathe, and it sort of made like it actually made for a really good song. Not to say that the album wasn't bad. The album was not bad. Let me get that straight. It was mid, but it was not bad. It is not the worst album of the year, or at least the worst album that I had listened to, because I still feel like it is better. It was better than the Salt album. Uh, I feel like not to say that Joji is a bad artist, but I feel like he's reaching potential man status. Because he does have a lot of really good songs. Obviously, a good amount of part of his new album, a lot of stuff with Ballads One, Smithereens, and Nectar. I also really like, and also In Tongues. But I feel like he can't put together a cohesive project. Um, Again, not to say he's not bad. I feel like he's a lot more a singles guy, like when it comes to like releases rather than full albums. Or like, unless we're treating this as compilation albums, but they're not treated as compilation albums, they're treated as regular albums. If they're just compilation albums, I feel like I would be perceiving this a lot better. But since it wasn't a compilation album, it's just perceived as a regular album. I feel like I'm a bit harder on it. Also, his longest album, this is the longest album in terms of number of tracks. In terms of minutes, it was Nectar in 2020 with running 53 minutes. Or if we're counting deluxe of In Tongues was 54. But overall, I feel like it was kind of a mid good album. Probably in my opinion, the perfect 5 out of 10. But I feel like it's something I also said last year with Lethal by Rico Nasty, where I like the singles, I like specific songs. I just don't feel like it's a cohesive project. Even though I did feel like Rico's project was a bit more cohesive, I didn't think Joji's was as cohesive. Now, moving on to the big topic. I was talking about a short album in terms of length, and now I'm talking about a long album. J. Cole's quote unquote retirement album released. I only say quote unquote, I'll get to that a bit later. But The Fall Off did release a total of 24 tracks, topping at almost 2 hours, 1 hour 41 minutes. Feel like I'm gonna say something that I feel like a lot of critics have said. It's a very J. Cole album. So it's definitely a your like a YMMV, your mileage may vary kind of album for Cole. Personally, I thought it was great. Uh, I feel like if this were his send off, it's not his send off because It's a Boy, one of the albums that was on the list towards the fall off, still has yet to release, but it's confirmed that it is coming. I feel like it doesn't necessarily like affect my rating of the fall off. It's just more of a like, oh, like it's a wrestler retirement essentially. Because like he's like, oh yeah, I'm planning on this being my final album, but he's coming back for one more match. It's like Liger. Jushin Liger retired 2020, wrestled a match in 2025. It was like 4 minutes, but he still came out of retirement for one match. So the story of the album is J. Cole coming to Fayetteville at two different points in his life. One when he was 29, the first 12 tracks, which is disc 29, and then disc 39. He comes back 10 years later at the age of 39. I do feel like disc 39 is better overall, but disc 29 does have my favorite song in Bunts Road Blues. Um, Again, if it's a very J. Cole album. It's really long. It's clear, not concise given the length. I feel like he could have gone on longer. Like I feel like 2 hours is a long album, especially nowadays when albums are like going like at most like 40 like going an hour is kind of rare or barely over an hour is rare. Having an almost 2-hour album is like, a daunting challenge and especially but in the modern day. And I did decide to split it up into 2 different sessions. They were, like, almost essentially back to back, maybe, like, an hour between the 2, but it was just more of, like, I'm gonna split it up based off the discs. So I listened to disc 29 and then took a break and listened to disc 39 just based off of because I figured that would've been an easier way to break it up, quote, unquote. Like, I didn't really break it up, but it was more of like, oh, I listened to, like, the disc 29, I had something to do, and then I came back and listened to disc 39. Um, Overall, I feel like most of the songs were really good. I have a big, like, 130 I think I mentioned this last episode, big 130-hour playlist of, like, all songs that I liked, and 17 out of the 24 tracks from The Fall Off did make it onto that playlist. Um, if you want my like I said earlier, if you want my opinion, the best song is Bunch Rose Blues. I really love the back and forth between Thames and J. Cole towards the end, and I feel like Future has a really good feature here compared to track 4 Run a Train where he completely took his feature completely took me out of the song because of the way he was speaking. He was saying his verse. Well, his verse was the hook, but the way he was saying the hook kind of just took me out of taking the song seriously. Not that it's a bad song. It didn't make my playlist, I don't believe. Yeah, it didn't make my playlist, but I feel like it wasn't a bad song. There's not really any bad songs on this album, I'd say, but it's just more of a like it's just I feel like a lot of the albums like the floor is good, the peak is great or amazing. 'Cause I feel like Bunter Blues kind of leads into amazing. But Overall, it's a very good album. I kind of wish it was actually his retirement album. Not that I don't want J. Cole to stop making music. I just and kind of more to the thing of like, oh, like, oh, this is gonna be my last album. You've led up 8 years to this being your last album. Because I believe the image with after KOD released or Revenge of the Dreamers 3, his list of albums, he had all these things, he had all the features and stuff like that. I believe it was after KOD because this was still during his features era. Um But also this kind of like I'm kind of thinking of like when this album like needs to be listened to. It's sort of like just going off of the thing like are you supposed to listen to it like if you're say hypothetically like the so like say hypothetically we were to take the okay, so where was I going with this? I kind of lost my train of thought here. Okay, so what I was saying was ooh, I kind of forgot. Okay. Okay, yeah. So I'm thinking about this like more of like the way you're supposed to listen to it. Like, say overall, we were taking his discography and putting it in a timeline. Uh, Taking it in a timeline, just putting it like that. Like, are you supposed to listen to disc 39 like at the point? So it'd probably be around in between Born Center and Forest Hills Drive, or do you just like listen to it in the proper order? Because if we're putting it in proper order, if we're going based off the studio albums, it would be Silent Story, Born Sinner, then Disc 29, then Forest Hill Drive, then For Your Eyes Only, then KOD, then the off season, then Disc 39. So I don't know. I don't think you're supposed to put it in a timeline, but if you were to put it in a timeline, I feel like that's how it would work. Uh, Personally, I don't think that's how it works. I don't think that's how music works. Well, not necessarily not how music works, but like as a progression, I don't think Cole's music works like that. It could, but I don't think it does. Um, I feel like it's towards the top of Cole's discography. I do feel like it's like probably like I gave it like an 8.25 out of 10 when coming to my rating, but I feel like it could have been like it wasn't the perfect album. It's not Forest Hills Drive, it's not For Your Eyes Only, but it's up there, I feel. It's not Revenge of the Dreamers 3 also. Revenge of the Dreamers 3 is, like, actually probably my favorite album with Cole on it, or Cole having majority of influence on it. Um, but yeah, like, I feel like it's not his best, it's not his worst, it's not My Delete Later, even though My Delete Later was good. It's just not, like, his it's not his best work, it's not his worst work. It's towards his best work, but it's not his best work. But yeah, overall, like I feel like that album again, 8.25 out of 10. Before I get to the big thing, which is Bad Bunny's halftime performance on February 8th, couple more news and music. Baby Keem did announce his new album Casino coming February 20th. Um, Anything else coming soon? Bruno Mars, obviously, The Mountain, Gorillaz. Brent Faiyaz is releasing an album quite literally on Friday. That should be good. Also in between the two music segments, Thundercat did announce Distracted, uh, coming out in April. Some of the features like really interesting. Mac Miller, Yachty. Yachty's more of like interesting, like funny, interesting rather than actually like intriguing. Willow has a feature on there. Probably another one of the big albums I'm looking forward to. But yeah, so that's kind of really about it when it comes to new album releases. Now moving on to the big topic, the Super Bowl. So before I get into talking about the halftime show itself, the game was indeed one of the Super Bowls of all time. I'm glad the Seahawks won because I would not want to see another Patriots dynasty. frankly, like, I was kind of half paying attention to the game. I was really there just for the halftime show, but I'm glad the Seahawks kind of put belt to the Patriots. Um, really the only people that were playing the game were Kenneth Walker, the Seahawks kicker, and the Seahawks defense. Because 7 sacks is, like, genuinely Super Bowl record, but genuinely, like, impressive regardless. But obviously, like, I kinda was only half there. I'm not really a Seahawks or a Patriots fan. I'm not really too much of a football person. I'm more of a basketball person because I used to play basketball, but in that sense, it was kind of more of a, in that case, it was more of a, like more like I was just picking the team I liked more, which was the Seahawks. But I was there for the halftime show. Bad Bunny, probably one of my favorite artists, probably the obviously the biggest artist in the world, probably my favorite artist, my most listened to artist last year. So frankly, I was extremely excited for this halftime show, and I thought it was great. I thought it was amazing because of the people that I saw it with. So I ended up seeing it with a bunch of my friends, and it was just really overall like really great vibes. I really did enjoy it. From a technical standpoint, genuinely amazing. Like obviously, I know it's like the budget of the Super Bowl, but even on a shot of I really something someone else pointed out, the double dolly shot, during Monaco was also, like, it was extremely impressive. And overall, I felt like the set design was, like, really good. I do wanna bring up the pre-recorded segment because there was a pre-recorded segment, and people were like, "Oh," like and it's not like Bad Bunny doesn't have a history of doing this because during, No Me Quiero Ir de Aquí, Una Más, the live stream show on Amazon Music, he did have a couple pre-recorded segments, but that was to split the scenes. So, like, uh, so they would be splitting between acts. There was no necessarily acts here compared to they only had 15 minutes compared to the Bad Bunny concert, which was 2 hours. Um, so it was more of like a transitionary scene between just to set up the other songs. Um, Set list, I genuinely loved the set list. I was surprised with the, conclusion of Lo que le pa oh, geez, can't speak today. Lo que le pasó a Hawaii, I didn't think they would have included that. I figured maybe they would have the NFL might have considered it slightly too controversial given what the song is about, but they did include it. It's a great inclusion. I'm happy they included it given the theme of Bad Bunny's music, especially towards his last 2 albums. And just genuinely, like, I thought Ricky Martin sang that beautifully. Um, Probably better than Bad Bunny himself, but genuinely, like, I was positively surprised at that inclusion. I was also surprised by the inclusion of a, salsa rearrangement of Die With a Smile and also getting Lady Gaga to perform it. Like, I'm, again, not surprised with the inclusion of Lady Gaga because Lady Gaga is been on like, it's been on record that one of Bad Bunny's favorite artists is Lady Gaga, so, that inclusion is, like, I was expecting at the very least maybe, like, a cameo, but the salsa remix of Die With a Smile following the actual wedding, was really was I thought it was, like, a really good thing. The salsa rearrangement is not something that Bad Bunny hasn't done before, again, on, No Quiero No Me Quiero Ir de Aquí. He did a salsa version of Caíta from, Un Verano Sin Ti, and that one, again, similar review of I'm gonna give to that remix as I would give to the smaller, salsa rearrangement is I want that on streaming services really bad, or at least some way that I can add it to the playlist. Obviously, the Super Bowl performance, much like last year's with Kendrick Lamar, did go up on streaming services. I believe is the Kendrick one from last year still up? Because I remember it got taken off of streaming services at some point, and I know it's in my playlist, so I can see if it's there. Because the Bad Bunny one is on my playlist, and so was the Kendrick halftime show, and I can let you know if it is there in like 2 seconds. No, they took that one down. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's currently not available. But obviously the show is on YouTube, so you can just go and watch it. Same thing with Bad Bunny's performance. Bad Bunny's performance is on YouTube. Um, I will say the ending also was extremely beautiful. I genuinely I love the conclusion where like he says God bless America and then says like all the country in the Americas. Uh, just feel like it was kind of like a beautiful thing, added in a lot of different stuff. I feel like it added like a big impact, big thing within the album. Speaking towards that, especially with the billboard in the back and him having all the flags, genuinely was like a really beautiful moment. Obviously, also the wedding was beautiful. I was surprised to learn that it was real, because usually a lot of that stuff is like staged. Um, just overall, like I was surprised to figure out that was real. I'm happy that was real because that was obviously a beautiful moment for the happy couple. Um, I was happy for the appearance of Sapo Concho because I even if it was just like a little thing in the corner, because I figured like, oh, like oh yeah, Sapo Concho's like animated kind of stop motion. I figured they wouldn't have found a spot to include him, even if they did do a pre-recorded, which they did do a pre-recorded transitionary segment. Um, just I was happy with this conclusion on the little side of the scoreboard of the Titantron kind of. Um, what else do I have to say about it? I was I didn't realize any of the cameos until I went back because I didn't see Pedro Pascal. I didn't see Donovan Mitchell and Coco Jones were there. Uh, you know, it's better on rewatch. It was great. It was great on a first watch, but also really good on a rewatch because I got to notice a lot more things compared to me just being there with friends. Just kind of like kind of like reacting to it live with people. Um, Overall, I feel like it was, it's a great performance. I would recommend going out of your way to watch it. Definitely, like, not, like, as soon as possible, I'm gonna say, like, as soon as possible, but, like, if you have, like, 15 minutes to spare, there is, like, not a lot of better things you can do than go and watch their performance, especially, in the time that we're in. I feel like it's also, like, extremely, like, important, even, like, on a cultural standpoint. But if you're wondering what I think of it, like, in comparison to other Super Bowl performances, I haven't really seen all of them, but out of, like, the ones I can remember, I do think it is better than Ken I do think it's probably the best out of the ones I remember. Do think it's better than the Kendrick performance, not by a lot, but still by enough where I can considerably call it. I do think it's better than the Weeknd's performance. Uh, which now makes me wondering about the Weeknd's performance. Like, was the scene where he's running through the glass things also pre-recorded? Because I don't remember if it was. But yeah, like honestly, I think it's probably towards the top regardless. I feel like, people like Prince, really Prince is kind of like the big one of like, oh, like, this one could be better than this. I still have to rewatch it. I think Michael Jackson also had a Super Bowl performance. Am I mistaken on that? You're saying, let me check. Michael Jackson Super Bowl. Oh yeah, Michael Jackson did do. Oh, that's where that photo's from. Okay, so yeah, probably like Michael Jackson, Prince. I feel like I kind of need to watch all of them in order to give you a concise ranking. But I feel like if you want like my gut feeling, even on a recency bias, it's probably towards the top of Super Bowl halftime performances. But obviously, I would need to have to watch all of them to see where it ranks. But yeah, that should do it for today's episode of the Notes app. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and hopefully, I will see you next week.